G'day and welcome back to the channel. It is a late or mid-autumn day, I suppose, and unlike yesterday when I was flying my drone in the park and got some footage you saw in my last video, it's pretty grey, it's pretty murky, it's windy and it's drizzling. And the cloud cover's sort of coming and going, so I've left the exposure on auto, so hopefully this isn't going to be such a crap video. And I'm using my shotgun mic, so hopefully the audio isn't too bad either. But enough of the trivia. Today's a very important video if you live in the UK. Now, a little while ago I did a video for my friends in Australia talking about the upcoming drone registration and so forth, and the restrictions it's going to place on the hobby. And today, if you live in the UK, it's your turn for my observations. And the reason that I'm doing this is manifold. A lot of people have emailed me, some people have left comments on my videos saying, hey, look at this, £16.50 a year to fly a drone in the UK or fly a model in the UK. What do you think? And other people have emailed me with similar questions. So here we go. I'm going to tell you what I think. Right. First of all, yes, the CAA has released a discussion paper. So basically they've come up with what they think is the way to go, but they're putting it open for public submission. So if you're in the UK, you must go and read this paper. A lot of the information in this video has come from that paper, so it must be true. And they are calling for your submissions. They want to hear what you've got to say, which is good. Under law, I think they're required to do that. Now remember, as we've learned from past experience in Australia, they do have to call for submissions, but they don't have to listen to them. All right, so bear that in mind. Now, registration in the UK will commence as of October the 1st this year. And if you've already got a drone, you'll have 2 months to register yourself and your drone, because you have to have everyone must be registered by the 30th of November. Important dates on your calendar. And they're saying it'll cost you £16.50. And they've worked out how they got that figure. That figure has been calculated because they know how much it's going to cost to create this fantastic computer system and an app and so forth to run the whole thing. And then they've divided it by the anticipated number of people that are going to sign up. And that's 170,000 people they think will sign up in the first 18 months. So they've taken the cost divided by 170,000. They get £16.50 each per head of per head of those who are going to want to use their drones legally, I suppose. Now, they're saying it's going to cost £2.8 million to run this thing. To set it up, basically to set it up and run it every year. Every year it's going to cost £2.8 million, which is $3.6 million. It's a lot of money. And so you would expect that this is going to be a pretty damn flash, all bells and wheels, do everything but make your coffee and iron your sheets. So let's look at what it's going to do. Taken from this document they put out there, here's what this £2.8 million a year system is going to do for you, the drone and RC model flyer. Well, first of all, it's going to provide a registration service. So you'll be able to go there, fill out your details on form, and that form will then get put into a database. Okay, fair enough. Then it's going to provide a knowledge base, some information that you will find useful, the regulations and stuff you'll need to know to pass the exam, because there'll be an online exam as well. That's the next thing. There's going to be an online exam, an online test, so you can prove your knowledge and competency before you're allowed to be let loose with an evil baby-killing drone or RC model. Then, of course, there's going to be the need to have enforcement officers check and make sure you are registered and your drone's registered. So they'll have to have an app, probably an app, so that when PC plods out on the beat and he sees you with a drone, he can type in stuff and come up and say, oh, yes, you haven't registered. I'm taking you to jail and we'll charge you a lot of money. £1,000, I think it is, if you don't register. Woo. So yeah, registration check. Then there's renewals, because this isn't just a one-time money grab. This is an annual tax of £16.50. It may go higher. We don't know. £16.50, they have to provide facility for you to go and put in your credit card and renew your existing registration. And then, of course, if you get a new drone or you change address, there has to be facility for you to update your details. So there'll be an update facility in the system. You better go online, fill out another form, and it'll update all your details. And then there's something I couldn't quite figure this out. When I looked at the consultation document. It says a service that enables operators, once registered, to operate multiple drones. Now, it's got me scratching my head. Watch carefully. There. What does that mean? Well, obviously, before we go that far, let's have a look at what you're going to have to do. There is the page from this consultation document. It shows there are 2 types of registration. A drone operator, that's someone who's responsible for a drone or an RC model, they've got one set of registration to do. And I've made some notes here. Where did I put them? Because I'm old and I forget. It's terrible. I even forget I forget. So if you're a drone operator, as they call them, then you're the person responsible for the drones or RC models. You've got to be 18 years or over. So if you're under 18, you can't legally own a drone that weighs between 250 grams and 20 kilograms. Sorry, mate. No ownership for you because that's what it says. That's the rules. This registration of the drone operator is £16.50 a year. That's where the money comes from. And once you register as a drone operator, you get a registration number. And that number has to go on all your drones. All the drones and model aircraft have to have this number on them. I don't know if it has to be in 6 foot high lettering or whether it has to be on the inside. We don't know yet. It's not important. So that's all you have to do. There's no test. There's no test if you're just a drone operator. However, if you are a pilot, you don't have to own drones, but if you do fly them, maybe you don't, I don't know, maybe you go to the flying field and people say, here, fly my drone. Then you can be any age. So kids can still fly drones and model aircraft. They just can't own them if they're under 18. But if you're any age, you can fly them. And you have to pass a test, a competency test, an online competency test. You'll be tested to make sure you know which way is up and why. And so you need to pass that test before you can get registered as a pilot. And fortunately, it doesn't cost you anything to register as a pilot. It's free, woohoo! And once you get registered as a pilot, you get a flyer number, which is different to the registration number that goes on the drone. It's like it's your own personal registration number. Now, the thing that got me confused here is that it says on this little chart, you only need a single registration if you both fly and are responsible for a drone or model aircraft. Okay, which one? Is it the operator registration or the pilot registration? Because you're both, so which one of these, since you only require one, do you have to have? They don't tell us. Or is there a third registration, which isn't listed here, which is a combination of the two? I think that's it. So really, who did this graphic? There are 3 types of registration that you will need. A operator's registration if you are the operator of a drone and responsible for it. A pilot's registration if you only fly drones but you don't own any. And a combined registration if you own and fly drones. So there's 3, not 2. Seriously, people, get your act together. Get information that's not ambiguous like this, please. But again, back to that £16.50 you have to pay every year. How does that stack up in terms of value? Well, compare it to your driver's license in the UK. If you have a license to drive a motor vehicle in the UK, how much does it cost you to renew that on an annual basis? Well, you probably know, £1.40. You pay £14 every 10 years to renew your driver's license. If you've got a drone, it's going to cost you £16.50 each and every year. That is £165 for 10 years versus £14 for your driver's license. Okay. What about if you've got a shotgun? If you've got a shotgun license, then that's going to cost you £9 a year to renew. But your drone license, £16.50. Where do they get this? This just doesn't make sense to me. Shotguns have killed people. Shotguns cause injury and nasty accidents. Shotguns are really dangerous. But it's only £9 a year. Motor vehicles, cars, a driver's license, cars kill thousands of people every year. But it's only £1.40 a year to get a driver's license or maintain your driver's license. Drones, recreational multi-rotor drones, never killed anybody. The recreational use of multi-rotor drones has never accounted for a single death in the whole history of mankind, but it's going to cost you £16.50. I don't understand, but they do say in the document that this money, the £16.50, is to offset the cost. It's to cover the costs of implementing this incredibly impressive IT system that provides all those features I mentioned just a moment ago. So let's have a look at that. Now, as someone who's been involved in IT for many, many years, in a former life, I was an IT manager, I was a programmer, I was an analyst, I was a technical writer. I did everything from beginning to end, and sometimes working on multi-million-dollar projects. So I know that creating software, reliable, robust software, is not an easy job. I'm not going to say it's easy. It's not. But I also know there's no way on God's earth that it would cost £2.8 million to make this system and run it a year. Seriously, honestly. You can buy off-the-shelf database development packages, They have all the stuff you need to write simple queries, such as the ones we've discussed, simple transactions, such as the ones we've discussed. And as far as the hardware goes, you could run this whole database on a laptop, stuck on your bedside cabinet, honestly, connected through your broadband. There's just not a lot of expense involved in creating this system. And for them to claim £2.8 million to create it and operate it, lunacy, because if we break that down, these figures are all in this report, all in this discussion paper. They're claiming it costs £1 million a year just for the IT. So that's the computer and basically the software. £1 million to run this thing. Now, we're only talking 170,000 registrations. So if we assume that each person has, say, 2 drones or RC models as a nominal figure, that's 340,000 for the drone registrations and 170,000 for the operator or pilot registrations. So we're talking less than 500,000 records in a database. That's nothing. That is absolutely nothing. The amount of data involved could be stored on a little USB pen drive. It's not a lot. And the amount of processing power required is minuscule. We're not going to have hundreds of transactions a second. This is not an FPOS system. This is not even the motor vehicle database registration thing. We're talking about really small numbers and really small numbers of queries. I would expect that in an average day, the law enforcement, the enforcement side of these things, they might make a dozen, maybe 20 inquiries as to checking on people's registrations. That's not going to stress things. And people who are perhaps updating their own information, they might make, certainly not, probably less than once every year you'll update your data, and renewals and things once a year. So we're going to be looking at perhaps a few hundred or maybe at the most a few thousand transactions a day. And as I say, a laptop on your bedside cabinet could handle that and still have enough processing power left over to play, POB, whatever, those games, those fantastic computer games. I don't play them, so I don't know. What is it? Captain Comic? That's my era. Anyway, so yeah, heaps of processing power left over. So where do you get £1 million required for this? Every year? No, seriously. Someone's pocketing a lot of cash out of your pocket if they charge you £16.50, because as well as the £1 million a year to run this thing, they've also budgeted almost £1 million a year for upgrades. Seriously. £1 million a year for upgrades. No. That is a lot of upgrades. And unless they've got the spec really wrong to start with, you don't need that much in the way of upgrades. And as I say, if you're buying store-bought, off-the-shelf database development products with good programmers, you could knock this up in a week. So someone's getting paid £1 million a week. Ooh, I don't think that's really right. So yeah, I am highly skeptical about these numbers, and I think they should be independently audited, because maybe someone knows someone in the computer business, and I don't know what's going on there, but no, public money, well, not public money, drone operators' money going for a gold-plated IT system when you could use a laptop and plug beside the bed and do the same thing. In fact, I would say to the UK, to CAA, look, I'll do this for £500,000 a year. Give me £500,000 a year. I'll set this up for you, and I'll be able to buy a nice little bungalow in Surbiton or in the south of England, and on the coast, or maybe a castle in Scotland or something with the stuff that's left over, because it's a rip-off. Right, honestly, totally. And as I say, I'm speaking from a position of experience. I've done this stuff before. I've done a lot of this stuff before. This is ridiculous, crazy stuff. And one thing, if you remember the BMFA, you were probably thinking, it's all right, BMFA, we'll be fine. No, the CAA has made it very clear there'll be no blanket exemptions for model flyers. So the BMFA, according to this discussion document, you'll still have to register, even if you fly to BMFA flying field. You'll still have to register, you'll have to pay £16.50 a year. There are no exemptions. Sorry, guys. So if we look at this, who should be paying this money? Now, the CAA says that it's user pays. Under the legislation, they're required to extract the costs from the users. Well, I think that needs to change, because it should be he who benefits pays. He who gets the benefit from the system should be the one paying. Now, as a drone operator or an RC model flyer, you're not going to get any benefits from the system. Not a thing. There's no benefit to you at all, except it lightens your wallet, makes it easy to walk around. The beneficiaries are all those people that have been constantly whinging and moaning and grizzling about drones and saying it's only a matter of time. We're talking airline pilots unions. We're talking people who like to sunbathe in the nude beside their pools and have to fight off squadrons of drones who are trying to take photos of their lithe young bodies. We're talking about all those people that hate drones. Okay, so we need to charge them. They're the people that should be paying, because they're the ones, in theory, who are going to benefit from having all this. Prisons. There are prisons that are saying that they have got wave after wave of drones dropping contraband over prison walls, and it's like building up and blocking the doorways. They should be paying. They should be paying for this system, because they're the ones who will benefit, because as we all know, all the people who are going to do bad things with drones will be first lined up to register their drones with the system, and then they won't do anything wrong. Yes, no, we know that. For those who are challenged, I was being sarcastic there. No bad actor is going to sign up and register their drone. So what we're going to have is you and your friends who are responsible, law-abiding people who don't do bad things. You're going to have to pay for this system. You're going to have to pay for it, but it offers you no benefits. The people who are going to cause the problems, the bad actors, they're not going to pay. They're not going to pay their £16.50 a year. They're not going to register their drones. So they are getting off scot-free. You're paying for a system that gives you no benefits at all. That's not acceptable. I think it should come from the general tax take, or it should come from a levy on airlines who are so worried about these things, or a levy on prisoners. Levy prisoners inside jail. They're the ones that are causing these people to drop the contraband over the wall and block the exits. That's who should be paying for this, not the innocent drone and RC model flyers. And RC model flyers, we've never been a problem, never been an issue, never been a threat to anybody. Why are we paying the penalty of £16.50 a year for being such well-behaved, responsible people? That doesn't make any sense. You're supposed to reward the behaviour you want, not penalise it. Anyway, so that's what I think should happen in terms of who pays the money. So now let's look at this whole activity of flying a model, doing a few circuits in a grassy field, miles from anywhere, well below 400 feet, so you're not a danger to anyone. Is this a privilege? Is it a freedom? Is it a right? We need to define that, because it's very, very important. Let's talk about the Declaration of Human Rights. I've made some notes here somewhere. The Human Rights Declaration. There are provisions in that protect certain inalienable human rights, and I think some of it covers what's going on here. Now look, let's take Article 24 of the Declaration of Human Rights. It is called, it's basically the right to play. It is everyone has the right to rest and leisure. It's a human right. Now, my leisure, and I'm sure most of you, including your leisure, flying model aircraft or drones in a way that doesn't inconvenience or put anyone at risk. That should be a human right. It's covered in Article 24. Okay, but let's move on. What say Article 27? Let me read that for you. It says, everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts, and to share in scientific advancement and its benefits. Well, if that doesn't describe recent progress in model flying and drones, I don't know what does. Scientific advancement has produced some amazing stuff in terms of the hobby. We've got spread spectrum radio gear, we've got FPV. We have the right to freely, the word freely is used, freely participate in that, as defined by the Human Rights Declaration, to which the UK became a signatory on the 10th of December 1948. They agreed that you should have the right to freely participate in the and share in their scientific advancement and its benefits. Well, if they're going to make you pay £16.50 to own a drone or an RC model, that's not freely, is it? No, that's subject to payment, which is quite different to freely. But okay, that's Article 27. There's more. Wait, yes, I always do my research. I like to deal in facts. Article 29, it says, in the exercise of his rights. Now I find this interesting actually, because this obviously was written a long time ago because it says his. And these days that would be utterly unacceptable in this feminist world. We couldn't say his rights, it would have to be his or her rights. But anyway, in the exercise of his rights and freedoms, everyone shall be subject only to such limitations as are determined by law solely for the purpose of securing the due recognition and respect for the rights and freedoms of others, and of meeting the just requirements of morality, public order, and the general welfare in a democratic society. So what is this saying? It's a bit long-winded. What it basically says is you can have rules, laws, and regulations to protect people from infringing the rights of others. that's fair enough. And that's why we have laws that say you're not allowed to steal stuff, because everyone has the right to ownership of property. And if you go and steal someone's property, you're violating that right. So yeah, it's legitimate under the Human Rights Declaration to make a law against robbery and theft and burglary. And we do, right? But if you're flying a grassy model in the middle of nowhere, or flying a mini quad under some trees in the middle of nowhere, you're not endangering anyone, you're not compromising anyone else's rights. Does the UK government have any right to stop you doing so under the Human Rights Declaration? I don't think they do, because that would be a violation of the Human Rights Declaration, because you're not compromising other people's rights. But however, it also says to meet the just requirements of morality, public order, and general welfare in a democratic society. Well, is flying a small model in a grassy field in the middle of nowhere, does that compromise public order? Does it affect the general welfare of society? And has it any effect on morality? No, it doesn't. So it doesn't qualify. It doesn't qualify for regulation under the Human Rights Declaration, the declaration that the UK government signed up to. So I think that the changes the UK government are making is in violation of several clauses of the Human Rights Declaration. So are they hypocritical? Oh yes, we uphold human rights except when it doesn't suit us. I don't know. And then of course there's the final one under the Human Rights Declaration, which is Article 20. It says no one may be compelled to belong to an association. No one may be compelled to belong to an association. What does that mean? Well, I think that if you have to pay £16.50 and register yourself and your models with the government, you are becoming a member of an association of drone and RC model flyers. You are becoming a member of a group of drone and RC model flyers by compulsion. You are required by law to do that. And it says no one may be compelled to belong to an association. So is that also a breach of the human rights? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I look at this with a layman's view, and I think if one was to look at this purely from the point of view of what's just and right, I think the UK government is in breach of the Human Rights Declaration in several areas. Maybe not egregious breaches, but certainly in principle they're in breach of that. And when you add that to the fact that they have told you they're going to spend £2.8 million on a computer system that could run on a laptop beside your bed at night, you have to then query, how the hell can you justify that price? No way on earth can you justify that, because Mr. Simpson from New Zealand said he'll do it for £500,000. And you've got a responsibility to spend people's monies wisely, not just blow it by giving your friends big contracts for IT systems. No, give Mr. Simpson the contract. £500,000. He'll do it. £500,000 a year. I'd love that. Oh, I'd be set up for life. Anyway, that's all I have to say about this particular subject, except that there are links in the description of this video to the consultation paper and to the feedback form that you can use to have your say. Now, I may be completely out of the ballpark here. I may have got this totally wrong. You may think, as a UK drone or RC model flyer, you may think that £16.50 a year is stunning value for money for registration. You may think it's brilliant. You may also think that there's no problems spending £2.8 million a year on a laptop beside someone's bed. You may think that's brilliant. That's a fantastic idea. More power to them. Well, if that's what you think, tell them. Tell them in the feedback. If you perhaps think that isn't the case, then you need to tell them that too. If you think that this £16.50 is a tax on a hobby that has never been any significant danger to the public, then you need to tell them that. If you think that the prices quoted for the IT system are ludicrous and should be, before they come up with numbers, they should tender it out to find out what the real prices are, tell them that too. And if you think the whole concept of registering drones is going to be no solution to the issues that they face, then you need to tell them that too. You need to have a good think about it. Hopefully I've armed you with some thoughts as to what you can say if you want to. But whatever you do, have your say. If you don't have your say and November 30th rolls around, you haven't registered your drone, and the PC plod knocks on the door and arrests you and gives you a $1,000 fine, then it's your fault. You haven't done your homework. You haven't done the legwork. You've got to have a say where you can't complain about the outcomes. That's it from me. That's another rant. Wasn't that a good rant? Anyway, so that's it. If you like this video, do the usual. Thumbs up. If you don't like it, you shouldn't still be watching it. You should have clicked off to something else a long time ago. You are a masochist. Please be kinder to yourself. Don't watch the videos you don't like. And just a reminder, in the description of this video, there are not only links to the stuff I've just mentioned, but also links to things that will support the channel. My Patreon page, yay, Patreon supporters, thank you. And also a link to Banggood, which is an affiliate link, which is not for any particular product, but if you use that link before you buy from Banggood, then I get a little bit of commission, which I then put to good use creating videos like this and other stuff on my 2 channels so that I can hopefully keep people like yourselves informed of what's going on, because it's very easy not to know, and then before you know it, the rules have changed, you're in trouble. I try to keep you updated with what's going on and warn you in advance of things that are not going to turn out well, like this. Anyway, there you go. I've got things to do. You've got things to do. Get on that website. Start filling out that form. Tell them what you think. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.